up, y'all? We are back with another episode. This episode is going to be about doing your own polygel nails. So I kind of already beat y'all to the punch. I took off some of the polygel and forgot to film it. So I'm just showing you guys how you would use like a nail drill. And you can get one of these off Amazon, and you just kind of want to get off as much of the polygel as you can with the nail drill. And then just kind of use the brush right there like that, just to kind of get the excess dust off of your nail so you can see properly what you have left. And just do that until you have maybe like a layer or two left. And then here you want to use these nail clips. I got these off Amazon. They were like $10 for 10 of them. And you want to have your nail file and a cotton ball. And what you're going to do with this, and you'll see me here in the video doing that, is breaking it up. I break it up into 5 pieces, because I only do one hand at a time because I'm doing it myself. So I need the other hand to be free. So I just break up one cotton swab. You don't need a whole cotton swab for each nail because it's just kind of too much, too bulky for the clips to go on. So I break it up like that, and then you'll see me grab the 100% pure acetone. I got this from Walmart. It's like $3.97 at Walmart for the big one. There is a smaller one that's a little less too. But then you just saturate each piece of the cotton swab, and then you put it over your nail, and then you just go ahead and put the clip over it. And what this does, it just kind of helps to loosen up the rest of the polygel that's left on the nail. You don't want to use the nail drill all the way down to your natural nail because it will damage your nail bed. So I kind of just leave as much, I take off as much as I can with the nail drill, and you can feel when you're getting a little close to your natural nail. So you'll want to stop there and then just add on the clips here with the acetone and the cotton ball. And I'm telling you, it works wonders. You let it sit, and then you just kind of use a tool, and you'll see here later in the video which tool I use exactly to kind of scrape off the excess polygel. And it works beautifully this way. So this is for the girls who want to have their nails done. I change my nails often. So you learn how to do things yourself as opposed to spending so much money in and out of the salon. So, okay, so here is my nail kit. I love this. My mom got this for me. Shout out to mommy. But yeah, she got this for me. And this is the tool right here that I use to scrape with. There's another tool I'm going to show you guys. I don't use this one as much, but it does work as well for gel or like just polygel or even dip powder if you're scraping that off. So after letting it sit a little bit, I kind of took off the cotton swab and the clip there. And you'll see it starts to loosen up. In the beginning, it's a little tough, and then it starts to get a little softer each layer that you scrape. And you have to be careful with this. You don't want to scrape your skin. You don't want to nick yourself down at the cuticle area. That's happened to me before too. But you want to just kind of gently, just kind of scrape away the top layer of the polygel and use that little buffer thing or any type of little brush that you may have to get off the excess before you put the clip back on. And that's what you guys see me doing here, just going nail by nail. And actually, this is like therapeutic for me and very just relaxing. So I kind of do this as my, self-care. Everybody needs that self-care, especially us as women. We need that self-care time and just to kind of wind down and do our thing. So you'll see me doing this here. And then you see it's kind of tough. And then you'll see as I go along that it gets a little easier with each layer. And I just kind of go and scrape off and add it back on. This way it's continuing to soak while you do the other ones. And I do have eczema around my nail cuticle area. So sometimes the acetone, depending on if I'm having a flare up or not, sometimes the acetone can irritate the eczema on your hands. So if that's the case for you, just try to make sure you get the cotton swab and the acetone directly on the nail. More so if you can avoid putting it on the skin for it to sit. I think you should do that anyway, even if you don't have eczema. All right, so here I am just cleaning up my cuticle area. This part is really important because it helps with the lifting of the polygel or whatever it is you're going to use, but also just like the longevity of your set. So you do want to get out any, skin, dead skin, old cuticles, leftover products, whatever that may be. And you see me pushing back my cuticles as well. And I do this on all the nails, and you'll see me keep going. You also want to be careful with this part as well because it can nick you if you're not very careful. And if I do lift out a piece, like I think you'll see me do it here, of like cuticle area that just kind of is no longer needed, I'll go in with the nail clipper and just clip it off. And then push the cuticles back. Yep. And you keep going with the same process on all of your nails. And this helps a lot. And we'll talk more about lifting as the video goes along. I don't usually lift at the cuticle. I usually have lifted in the past at the tips. And I'll show you what I've done to fix that problem. And I don't have it happen anymore. So, all right. So now we're all done with that part. Kind of cleaned up the nail. Now we're going to get the polygel off of the other hand. Now I do one hand at a time so that I can have the other hand free to be able to scrape off the rest of the polygel with. So it is a process, and it does take time. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes my nails can take forever, especially if I'm doing other things or if I'm stopping in between, which I do quite often. So it can take a while, but again, you do this on a nice self-care Sunday or a day that you know you don't have much going on. You can afford to just sit there and maybe listen to your music or watch a show and just get your nails done and just take your time doing it, So make sure you plan in advance because it can be time consuming to do this because you have to do one hand at a time doing it on yourself. But to me, it's worth it. So we're almost done here with the scraping process. And I hate to call it scraping. That sounds so abrasive, but just removing that acetone. And see, as you can see, once you and the longer you let it sit as well, this is another really good pointer. Sometimes in the beginning of doing this myself, used to have no patience with letting the acetone sit for long enough to soften the polygel. But now I kind of just let it sit a little bit longer. So the longer you let it sit, the easier it comes off. So that's another really good rule of thumb. With it, you don't want to be so impatient that you're scraping before it's ready to come off because you'll be working harder and it'll kind of just be a little bit more abrasive as well, trying to get it off. So here I am just cleaning up the other hand just like I did with the first hand, getting rid of any extra skin, cuticle, product buildup, whatever needs to come out from under there. This helps with the application process and makes it so that your set will last longer. And I've just recently, maybe within the last year, started doing polygel, and which is also known as builder gel as well. Before I used to be a dip powder girl, but it does, for me, polygel lasts a little bit longer than the dip powder does. And I still love dip powder. I'll probably do a dip powder video and gel polish video. I do pretty much everything with my nails. I love to change them up sometimes. So that's what we're doing now is the polygel set. But here are the filers that I used. And this one that I'm showing you right here is the nail clipper as well, because I usually have almond shaped nails, but this time they needed to be cut down a little bit because I braid hair and I wanted to make sure that my nails weren't too long, but I also wanted to go for more of a square look this time. So I cut down the tips pretty much. That one was already broken, but I cut it a little bit, and then you'll see me going over to the other hand. I have to get a new nail clipper because this one was kind of a struggle to use this time around for some reason. But you can see me matching them up with the other hand just to kind of make sure that they are the same length. Because it's easier to do that part now rather than putting the polygel or dip powder on. And then having to cut them down at that point. You're going to be putting yourself into more work with having to do that. So Yeah, you see me cutting them down a little more. If it doesn't match, I just cut it down a little more. And I always go a little bit longer than what I think I may want, just to kind of leave room for cutting them down and matching them up to make sure they're both the same. So it's better to cut it a little long than to cut it too short, and not be able to get that length back. So I didn't want them too short, but I also didn't want them very long. So I just kind of went with more of a medium length. And this was perfect, especially for like what I did in this video, which was the white tip. And we're doing the last finger now. And I had to clean up the nails because they kind of were flying around, but this was just, quick and easy cleanup. So that was the length we ended up with right there. And then we're going in with the filer. At this point, you want to be very, very careful with how you file your nails because, again, we don't want to be too rough and abrasive. So I kind of hold my file very loosely and just kind of move it around with my other hand to kind of shape the nail into what I want it to be. So here I'm not really too heavily on the shaping, with the filer, but what I am doing is kind of getting rid of those edges to be too sharp. You see me kind of going over the edges there very gently, of course. You don't want to be too rough. And I mean, you can use any file that you have, will work for this, but this is just what I had. And here, never mind my old buffer. I love my buffer. I have to get a new one, but it's just kind of like worn to the point where it's like the perfect strength, on my nails. So I just kind of gotten comfortable with using this buffer, but I do plan to get another one really, really soon. Here you have to be careful as well. I did want to like smooth out because sometimes with polygel or anything on your natural nail, it can kind of get a little bumpy from the different grooves and things like that. So you want to be careful with not being too rough with the buffer to mess up your natural nail bed. So now what I'm doing here, and you can use a dehydrator if you have it. If you don't, like me, I just use a little bit of acetone just to kind of dehydrate the nail. And what this does is just get rid of those oils on your nail, because if you try to apply the polygel with oils on your nail, you'll have more lifting. So I just kind of went ahead and used the acetone cotton swab just to get rid of any oils or debris that could cause lifting in the long run. So that's what I did there. Now I'm showing you what I'm using. I don't know if you pronounce it Castini or Castini, but this set was just amazing. I went ahead with this file and I used the base coat to solidify, the sticking for the polygel. Now, what you see me doing here, this is totally optional, but I always have a lot of lifting, usually at the tip of my nail. For some odd reason, like a splitting type of thing happening. And I mean, I'm a mom, so I do a lot of dishes and work with my hands a lot and typing on the computer for work and running my business and things like that. So I am a very busy person. So I don't know if maybe that had something to do with it. But I did notice that if I buff and file the tips of my nails to make them a little rougher and then put extra base coat at the tips, it kind of stopped the splitting. It stopped the separation, and I haven't had that problem in a long time. So what you see me doing here is just kind of filing away, and I'm being very careful because you don't want to get rid of any keratin on the natural nail. Just letting the file kind of guide. And what I did was put a layer of base coat on the tips of all of the nails first and then cured it. So you want to have extra base coat, I guess is what I mean, on wherever you have lifting, whether that for you is the cuticle area, but for me, it's the tips. So you'll see me going here and putting on just one layer of base coat first on the tips. And then I went ahead and did this for all the 5 nails. This really, really worked wonders. I haven't had any splitting or separation with this process, so I definitely would recommend it. And there I am doing that again. Yep. And then at this point, I just went ahead and put it under the lamp for 60 seconds. And when I pulled it back out, I went ahead and did a full coat for the entire nail of the same base coat. So I started off with the tips and now I'm doing a full nail coat. And this works so good because you have to have that base coat in order for the polygel to have something to stick to, have a way for it to adhere to your nail. So the dehydration part helps with this as well. When you saw me use the acetone, of course, they have different primers and dehydrators you can buy from, anywhere pretty much. Amazon has them as well. But I just happen to have the acetone, so I use that to dry out the nail. But that process and this process really helps tremendously with lifting and also the filing of the tips of the nails as well. So that's perfect. And I just wanted to be sure it wasn't going to lift. So I put a little extra there on the tips and then you'll see me go back under the lamp. So this is what I'm using. It's Savvy Land and it is the Polygel, or what some people would consider builder gel. And this stuff, so amazing. So amazing. I've used it, as you can see, for me tipping the bottle. I'm running low. I have this one. I have a sheer pink color. I have a clear, and then I have the top coat and base coat. I'm not in love with the top coat and base coat. For me, they take a little longer, too long to cure. But I went ahead and just used the other one that I showed you guys, that I use for the base coat for that. And what you see me here doing is applying from the middle first. I know that may look weird, but this is how you build the apex for your nail. You want to build, it's called builder gel because you really have to build your nail pretty much. Because I have such a nice, natural nail bed, I don't have to really do too much here, but I do start at the middle to build the apex, which is like if you look at your nail from the side, you want to be able to see that nice round hump towards the middle of the nail. So it has to do with the shaping of the nail itself. So I do kind of the same concept I do with the base coat here with the polygel as well. And then once I have it on from the middle, I just you can see me putting the polygel down and then kind of dragging it up to the top or the tip of the nail. See, I have to get some more. I'm running out. But this is my favorite shade. This is the nude shade as well. So I'm just basically putting it in the middle and then dragging the remaining polygel to the tip. I'm not really a fan of incredibly thick nails. I like them to look more natural. So this is kind of my way of not putting too much gel on, just putting it right there in the middle and then dragging that product to the tip of the nail. And this is me doing my right hand, using my right hand to do it. So this is like the best hand that I have to use for this. So you're going to see me doing this, pretty much just putting it under the lamp at this point. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that I cured for 90 seconds. I like to make sure that the polygel is cured because sometimes it can feel like if you tap it after you took it off the lamp for 60 seconds, you can tap it and it'll still feel kind of wet. That's normal. It's not going to feel dry like dip powder or dry like even acrylic. So I try to cure it really, really good to make sure that when I wipe the nail off to get the sticky layer off, that none of the polygel is still wet. So you see me going over like doing the whole nail at this point. Now that I fixed the apex on it and made sure there was an apex on each nail, you'll see me going through and doing the entire nail. From the cuticle, I try to get down. You see how I put the product kind of like almost at the bottom, but I leave a little bit of room to kind of drag because you want your cuticle, you want the nails to look natural, like they're growing out of your finger pretty much. So I kind of just get really good into the cuticle line with the brush. I don't put like a thick layer right at the cuticle because then it'll just look like a bump, like a really thick nail. And I'm not a fan of that look. So I just kind of take my time and get the brush right into, and sometimes if, as you can see what I just did, I flipped it over. If I feel like there's more product on the back of the brush, I'll flip it midway and just take my time. And I'll do this with each nail and then cure it. So for this video, like because I'm recording and I'm showing you guys how to do this, I usually will do the second hand as well, you know. But this time I did the whole entire first hand. And then so that I can show you guys, and then I went back and did the second hand. So you see how I'm just kind of getting really good, and I am moving slow. If you're in a rush, of course you could do this a lot faster, but that's just how that's just how I am. I like to take my time with stuff. And then so that was the second layer. So we did one layer for the apex, cured it for 90 seconds. Second layer, we down to the cuticle, cured it for 90 seconds. And now here is our third layer. And builder gel, I mean, if you're trying to use like the nail, like the foldable thing that you stick underneath your nail, if you're trying to actually build a nail, like say, for example, I had really short nails and I'm trying to make a nail, that's a little bit more different. But this I'm just putting on top of my natural nails because I like my natural nails to be kind of thick and strong because, like I said before, I do so much stuff with my hands. So I don't want to have any broken nails because it takes me a while to, you know, do my nails, and I've grown them out so nicely and I take good care of my nails. And so I just want to make sure that my nails are not going to break. So that's why I put the gel like this on top of my natural nail. So I'll try to do a video to show you guys how to use the, you know, how to make a nail with polygel, because that's a possibility as well. People do that on their hands and their toes as well. But this, I just wanted to make sure my nails were a lot stronger to be able to endure my day-to-day activities. So we're almost at the last nail on this hand. And I think at the end, if I'm not mistaken, I'll double check here, but I'm pretty sure I cured it for 90 seconds twice, because I like to make sure before I wipe them off and make sure that they're cured completely that the nail is not going to come off or anything, you know, if it's not cured at 100%. So, and you can do thicker as well. And I'm just cleaning up the edges here. If you see any excess, you don't want to cure it like that, because if you see excess on the sides and then you put it under the lamp, it's going to cure that way. So you can, like, again, you can make them thicker. This is how I like them. You know, I don't want them too thick and I don't need them too thin. So here is the Saviland slip. It's like a slip solution. And what this is it gets off that sticky layer. See, I'm showing you that they're still a little tacky, but they're definitely dry, you know, as far as like, I'm sorry, they're cured as far as they're going to be underneath the lamp. So you put a little bit of this, and these little papers that I have are the best thing to use. Do not use a Q-tip for this part because you will end up with little stickies stuck to your nails. So I use these, and I got these off Amazon, like 100 of them for like $4.99, very inexpensive as well. And then you just use this solution here and you wipe off the nail, and it takes the sticky layer off of your nail. But again, you want to make sure it's cured before you do this. Otherwise, your set will come off and then you'll be back at square one. So now I did the second hand, and I am getting the slip off of the second hand, I believe. Yes, I am getting the slip off of the second hand. So I did do the second hand off camera just to kind of speed things up. And this new color, I could wear it just like this. I just love the color of this polygel, and this is why I don't have very much left and I have to get another one. I have a lot of clear left, but I'm more of like a milky nude, you know, type of chick. So that's why I use this one the most. But this time I decided, instead of leaving them like this, because sometimes I will leave them like this. And again, I used to have almond shape. Almond shape is my go-to. This is the first time in maybe a few years that I've done the square shape. And it was because I was doing the French tip this time around. So I wanted to make sure I had the square tip for that. I like the look of the square tip. So you see me kind of going back in with my file this time. And I'm just kind of shaping them off just to make sure that they're like the shape that I want them to be, not too sharp around the edges. You know, making sure they're even. And again, I'm not being very abrasive with this either. This is also a good time to make sure if you have any polygel that kind of cured on the side and maybe is a little stuck to your finger, just like with acrylic nails, you just see me going in and making sure that it's not sticking to my finger, which doesn't really feel the best. It's not painful, it's just more annoying. So you go in with the file and make sure you're good with that. Now you could do some buffing here, but if your application was good, usually you don't really need much buffing. And now I'm going in with this Castini as well, but this is in the shade of white. B133 is actually the code for the shade. And I'm just going to go ahead and freehand. Of course, you can use the stickers for your white tip. They do have stickers that you could buy, I'm sure, on Amazon or at your local beauty supply store or hair store. They'll have the stickers there. But I've kind of used to doing it, so I just kind of go on with my hand and freehand it. And you can see exactly what you need, how thick or how thin you want them, stuff like that. So again, you can take your time with this part. I am using my right hand, so it does make it a little easier when you're using your dominant hand to actually do your nails. So this hand was a lot easier, I'll be honest. The other hand wasn't bad either. Of course, you just need to go a little slower and take your time. But if you can look closely, I'm actually bringing it down a little bit more in the corners to kind of create a rounded line. You can, of course, do it straight across if you want for your white tip. But if you want to have that curved smile line, you just want to drag it down a little bit in the corners. And this nail polish is really, really good. This is the same brand that I use for the base coat. I use their top coat as well, and I have several of their colors. They have really nice gel polish. Of course, everything they have in terms of gel polish does need to be cured with the lamp, but it just works really, really good. I'm really happy with this polish, so I'll put it in the description so you guys can see exactly where I got it from. I believe it was from Amazon. And we're on the last finger here, and you can make yours however thick or thin you want them to be. This was just my preference. And I'm going to go down. This is a good visual of how we did the sides right there. You see how I'm pinching them down a little bit. And if you have to move slow, that's fine. It's better to be slow and just take your time doing it. You know, and if you want, you can have like a little brush handy with some acetone on it for cleanup. And that's how they looked. I went ahead and cured it. And then I went in with one of my polishes. This is actually a Majestic Beauty polish from our Otherworldly collection. So this is our liqueur. We do not have to have a lamp for this. It doesn't need a lamp to cure. It's actually long lasting and fast drying. It has like a silverish shimmer undertone, almost like a pearl color. Very, very pretty. And I just put that right over top after I cured the white polish. I went ahead and put this right over top. And it just kind of gave it like this shine and shimmer. It was just super, super pretty. So if you guys want to get that, I'll also put the link to my website here across the screen. And I'll also put it in the description box as well, so you guys can check out the website and see what products we have. We have a ton of different shades, but they're all custom colors, handmade. You're not going to find them in the stores. They've got different types of shimmers and glitters inside of them. Super pretty. And so if you guys are liking this, you'll see at the end what type of a shimmer it gives. It just kind of sets off the whole set to be honest. And I'm really, really happy that I went with this color. And again, our collections are on sale right now. And also, they come with 5 polishes in each collection. This one is Otherworldly. That's the name of the collection. But we also have another one called Fearless, and it's got more bold summer spring colors in it. Very, very pretty, bright and pigmented colors. So yeah, you guys won't be disappointed with that. But if you can see that shimmer that it adds to the top of the white polish, just pretty. So here we are now back with the same brand that I used for the white and the base, and we're just going to go ahead and do the top coat. And I like a thick top coat. I like if I'm going to have them glossy, I want them to be glossy. If I'm going to have them matte, I like them to look matte. So I do use a lot of top coat, as you can see. I'm kind of not really taking much product off of the brush once I dip it. So I just go ahead and paint over the nail. And for white tip, me personally, I think that gloss, that extra shine is just beautiful. Of course, if you want, the brand that I showed you has a matte top coat. You can mattify these if you really wanted to. But I just preferred the gloss, so that's what we're going in with today. And again, here, you want to make sure you clean up your edges because it is going to cure however you put it in the lamp, even if you have it on your skin or things like that. And you don't want it on your skin because if you cure it that way, you might think, oh, it's not the end of the world. It's a clear coat, so it should be fine. But that will be the beginning of your lifting as well. I had to learn that the hard way too. So it's better to just clean it up while it's still wet and make sure that it's all even. See me doing that right there. I don't like the feeling of having it cured with the extra around the edges. So I went ahead and cured that. And this was the finished product of the nails after everything was all finished and complete. I wanted something simple and classy, and this is what we came up with. And I am now showing you guys my cuticle oil from my brand as well. It's made with all kind of high quality ingredients. It has lemon essential oil in it, and it's really, really good for your natural nail bed, whether you wear acrylics, whether you wear dip powders, if you wear polygel like in this video, or if you just rock your natural nails. You want to use this on your cuticle. It's for healthy nails. It helps grow your nails naturally. It's chemical free, cruelty free, and completely high quality. And it's got castor oil and all kind of amazing ingredients. So this is also on sale right now as well on the website. And you can also check out a full list of ingredients as well on the website. And here's just a little glimpse of the whole collection, Otherworldly collection, from the polish that we use from my brand as well. Super pretty, really, really cute. This was the finished product. So thank you so much for checking in and stay tuned for our next episode. Peace.